Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. Today, we are going to talk about skijoring with your dog with Robyn Rittmaster. Before we bring Robyn on, I would love to know, everybody who's watching, what kind of dogs you have that you're thinking may be interested in doing a little skijoring. Skijoring is dog sledding, cross-country skiing kind of combo, but Robyn's also going to be talking about other harness sports that you can do if you personally, or maybe your dog, is not a snowbird like myself. So please feel free to go ahead and start putting it in the comments. Your dogs, their breeds, do they like the snow? Are they big runners and pullers? As I start to introduce Robyn and bring her aboard here. So let me go ahead and bring up Robyn. Boop. Hello, here's
Hi.
Robyn with us. Thank you for joining us and coming on to talk about skijoring and dog harness sports. I'll introduce you. So Robyn is from Ottawa, Canada. She's a certified dog trainer and behavior consultant, and she works at the Ottawa Humane Society, and she is also a professor at the university and teaches veterinary technician and assistant courses. So there's much more about you,
Yes,
though, if you want to share more.
thank you. I have a little introduction later, but I'm interested in what dogs people have. So why don't you tell me what the chat has said? Do we have
All right.
any huskies?
So far, let's see here. No huskies yet. We've got some thumbs ups and some hearts, but nobody has given us their breeds. I've got a pit bull. I know he would not be interested.
Oh,
He can barely
I
go
mean,
to the potty right now without me having to carry him in because it's too cold.
I knew a husky pit mix that was pretty good.
Oh, good. Oh, let's see here.
Any
Victoria, she has a pit bull and a German shepherd.
awesome.
German shepherd's getting a little more
And
hairy.
yeah, no, any pointers
Do we have any German short
or
hair
Vizslas?
pointers?
Yeah,
Let's see here. Great Pyrenees.
fur.
Yeah, more fur. Yep. So we got another pit bull and a Great Pyrenees. I don't see any German short hair pointers yet.
But a German shepherd.
Yeah, German shepherd. We're halfway there.
Okay.
What are the breeds of the dogs that you have?
Well, should I get started? I have that
Sure.
in my presentation.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
So the way the presentation is going to work, it's kind of in sections. So anytime anybody has a question, I think what's going to happen is you can flag Jennifer down in the chat. Is that how they ask a question?
Yep.
And we'll pause. So the presentation is about 20 minutes, and it's kind of a teaser on how to get started. But feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation. You just raise your hand through the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just share my screen and we'll get going.
Okay.
All right, so on the screen, Jennifer, do you see two dogs?
One second.
Just to make sure.
There we go.
I'm on.
Yes, we are good to go.
Okay. So yeah, these are kind of my two older dogs here, and I will talk about them as we go. As Jennifer said, I'm a certified behavior consultant. I have a bunch of dog training credentials, but I was also on Team Ontario for Canicross, and I'll tell you what about Canicross a little bit later. So we have this sport actually has world championships and national championships, so you can get pretty competitive. And so I was on Team Ontario for Canicross, and these are my dogs. I'll start with my oldest. So I have a husky Embark calls her a Siberian Husky, Alaskan Husky, and a Lab. She's from the shelter, and she's 9 years old now. And the picture is from one of her first races, and you can see the joy in her eyes. I knew, is kind of just from her picture, her adoption picture, that she was going to be a dog for this sport. She just had that kind of need to find out what was around the next corner. And so this is by the way, my progression is kind of a typical progression for people who get into the sport. And then I said, okay, I want to get a little bit more competitive. So my second dog was Journey, and she's a purpose-bred sprint dog. So she's a pointer mix with Alaskan Husky. And she was 3 when I got her. And she just didn't like the kennel environment, the race environment. She wanted, we call them couch to harness dogs. She wanted to be kind of on the couch most of the time, but was happy to race now and then. So she didn't make her race team. So then I said, hey, I would like to have her. She's pretty. So that was Journey, and she's 7 now. And then the bottom picture is my little baby. She's a year and a half, and she's same thing, a purpose-bred race dog. She's a pointer husky as well. And for her, someone sent me a picture, and I saw her blue eyes, and I said, yes, that's the dog for me. So that's how I pick my dogs. All right, so the way this presentation is going to go, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the sports, a little bit about the dogs, the equipment, and then how to get started. You know, if you want to go Skijoring next weekend, what would be the things you would consider? And then we'll take a break at each of these sections to see if anyone has any questions. All right, so these are the sports. By the way, any picture you take when doing these sports is going to look great. There's a whole industry for race photographers. So these are the sports. Canicross, that's running with your dog, dog-powered running. And you can go to world championships in that sport. And then there's sled. So the sports I do are only for 1 or 2 dogs. You might be familiar with the Iditarod, or 10 dogs going 1,000 miles. That's not what we do. We do 1 or 2 dogs max, and the longest race would be 10 miles. Most races are 6 miles. So we call it sprinting. And so you can do that on the sled. There's a class for that. And then Skijoring is kind of my main sport. That's the next one. So dog-powered skiing. It's a skate ski style. I'll talk about skiing a little bit later. But that's 1 or 2 dogs. And then the other sport we do, because winter's only a few months out of the year. So the other sport we do is bike jor. So that's dog-powered biking. And you can go to world championships in that. Basically, if a dog can pull it, there's probably a race for it. So there's also fat bike racing, there's scooter racing. It's endless. Snowshoes. So it's in the winter, the canicrossers, the ones that can't ski, there's snowshoe racing. All right, so I'm gonna flick back here, and I have a video to show you about what Skijoring looks like. Let me just get back to that.
Did you want me to share it, or you're going to share it? Sorry.
Oh, I thought it worked better if you shared it.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Okay. All right. So I'll just set this up. So you might think.
Sorry, I accidentally muted you there.
Okay. It's okay. So you might think, and it's a little bit true, that all you have to do is go buy one of these purpose-bred dogs, you put the harness on them, and they'll go. And sort of. But there's some training involved. So to set this up, you'll see they have to hold a stand stay while I hook them up, while I get my skis on, and then they have to learn to go straight. So go ahead and roll it.
Do you give them some sort of cue to tell them to go, like mush?
Sorry, I didn't know if you could hear me when the video
Yep.
was on. I didn't want to say
Yep.
anything. Yeah, so you can see how if I was putting on my skis and they just went when they wanted to go, I could never get my skis on. So I have a cue. It's line out to make the line tight, then stay, and then it's ready, go.
Nice.
Um, and so yeah, here just a straightaway. So for context, 24 kilometers per hour is about 15 to 18 miles per hour. So that's kind of how fast we go on straightaways. Um, and that's kind of, oh yeah, am I on?
Yeah, you're still on.
There you go. That's where I'd say that's kind of an average speed. There's dogs that go much faster, but that's kind of an average speed during the sport, 15 to 18 miles per hour. If you get one of these kind of purpose bred dogs, every dog, by the way, will start at that speed for the first, half a mile, and then it depends. So you'll see one of my points later is you really have to know how to ski, because even if your dog doesn't go fast, there will be times where they do go fast when they're chasing a dog or a squirrel or something, and you have to kind of be under control. Um, so were there any questions? I know the video was a little bit it was choppy on my end. But there any questions about what the start looks like? So you need a stand stay and you need a go, and the equipment.
Let's see here. We'll wait to see if there's any questions. I'll ask a few while we wait, because there's always that little bit of
Okay.
delay. So how do you train this? Because they're out in front of you. So a lot of the stuff that we do with our dogs, they're directly next to us for initially.
Yeah, so I have some points on that later, but like I said, you can, as long as your dog is moving faster than you, they will be out in front. So that part is simple.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's getting them to go forward. Sometimes they'll chase dogs, sometimes they'll chase kind of another person. The only problems in terms of breeds I have are Australian Shepherds. They're so kind of in tune to their owner. It's funny because Border Collies seem to go straight pretty easily, but most people I know with Australian Shepherds, they have to do it with two dogs side by side because the Aussie will turn and bite the skis, they'll turn and bite the poles, they'll kind of look back at the owner going, what do we do now? What do we do now? So that's the only breed that seems to not understand the go forward part. But as long as your dog wants to go faster than you, then they go forward.
Okay. Well, here's one from Claire.
How to use whoa or easy to slow them down. Yeah, so what we do teach it. So what happens is you can slow them down by snow plowing with your skis, but you don't want snow plowing with your skis to be the cue for them to stop or go easy, because you might do that naturally as you're going around a corner. And you don't want them to think every time you put pressure on your skis that they feel in the rope and they slow down, because sometimes you want them to speed up. So what you do is you say the word first, so whoa or easy or could be anything, too fast, and then you slow them down. And then you wait a bit, you go fast, then you do the same thing, you say the word first, and that predicts the pressure on the skis, that slows them down. They start anticipating. The only thing really to avoid are quick stops, because on the skis, if you've trained your dog to stop quickly for whatever reason, you'll run into them. So it's kind of like we do whoa, we glide into a stop, and then they know stop is coming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, speed up is different. Speed up, you kind of train down a hill. So you get it ready to a hill, and then you say go, go, go before the hill, and they realize that go, go, go means to speed up so they can run down the hill. And eventually, go, 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 they'll speed up even if the hill isn't there. They're not that smart.
So for these guys, the big reinforcer is getting to run, right? So like if you're teaching them whoa, you're asking them to slow down, but then you're going to let them go forward again, and that's what they're getting out of it.
Yeah, and that's how we teach the stand stay too. They only get released when they do a second of standing still. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so you might say, hey, where are the treats? How did you motivate them to run? They have to want to run faster than you can. And even with directional commands, we don't use treats because we don't want them focused on you. And it's hard to toss a treat 10 meters forward. So it's all the motivation and reward for them is all getting to see what's around the next corner.
Yeah. So it really is about the dog and the dog having that internal desire to want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can provide motivation. For most dogs, a dog running in front of them is enough motivation.
Hmm.
And then you learn to phase out the dogs. Like they might only need to see a dog every mile to keep going, or a bunny every mile to keep going. Yeah.
Which you go have
but
that
not
on
to worry.
cue, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I need to speed up and I'll say, "Where's the bunny?" And they haven't learned that there's no bunny.
It's there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Claire says thank
All
you.
right, I'll keep.
So we're ready to
You're
go on
welcome.
to the next one.
Okay, let me screen share.
Okay.
Just a second here. Okay. So that was the video. So getting started, the dogs. The only criteria, as mentioned, is they have to run faster than you can run. If you're faster than they are, that's no problem. That's just going for a run with your dog. It's not dog-powered running. So, and this is a problem with really good skiers that do a lot of cross-country skiing. If they don't buy the right dog or acquire the right dog, they will probably ski faster than their dog might want to run. So, which is, again, that's fine, but that's skiing with your dog. It's not dog-powered skiing. So, kind of one of my main pieces of advice here is to really think about what motivates your dog. Often just putting them with another dog or another dog in front of them, that's enough motivation. For one of my huskies, if I put her on one of those rail trails, the long straight trails, and she can see that there's nothing fun for the next mile, she won't. She'll trot, but she won't really run. But if I put her on a trail with lots of corners and turns, then she goes. So really think about what motivates your dog, and then to keep them wanting more. So there's times where, I've drove 45 minutes to a trail to do a 1 mile training run. I might train other dogs, and maybe they'll go a second time. But you don't want them. This isn't really a way to tire out your dog. I mean, you can do that, but then you're going to lose speed. So it's kind of like to go, okay, I've teased them a little bit. They were flying. I'm going to put them back in the car, and then I'm going to do my own run or my own ski. So that's kind of the one of the biggest mistakes kind of new people into the sport make is they run their dog too much. And sometimes young dogs will keep going, and then they're kind of bored of the sport by the time they're 3 or a couple months later. So really, even if you're not planning on racing, it's a good idea to keep them a little bit kind of wanting more. So don't overdo it is kind of one of my messages there. And then dogs need fitness training too. So you can think of if you go to a private trainer for fitness instruction, they will give you a training plan. You can kind of modify it for dogs as well. So we usually start in October and they go 1 mile and you slowly increase the distance. We race 6 to 10 miles. So that's kind of what they're training for. And they need to be, usually you'll see dogs that are a little bit lighter than you would expect. The idea is that you would maybe you can feel their ribs but not see their ribs, but a lot of dogs you'll be able to see their ribs. We need them pretty light and in shape, and then to start a training plan. My final message about the dogs, and this is a big one, is temperatures. It's really easy for the dogs to lose motivation when it gets hot. The general rule of thumb is if you need shorts, it's probably too hot for your dog. Around 50 degrees might be too hot. If they have access to water, that's different. If the humidity low, that's different. if you're training for longer distances at a lower speed, then it's possible to kind of hit these higher temperature ranges. But in general, we don't do a lot of high speed training until Ottawa. It's October. It's probably the same in Wisconsin. The worst thing you can do for a dog is overheat them. You will rapidly associate slower speeds with the sport, which isn't really what you want. All right, so let me just switch back here for a second. I know how to do that. Okay, I'm back. So the dogs, any dog can do it, but the summary point there is keep them wanting more, and it's okay to only run a mile, and then put them away, and you can go for your own run. Eventually, that will increase, but as soon as you see their speed starting to drop, so if they're kind of loping along, really going hard, and you see them switch into a trot, unless they're a breed that trots fast, some dogs do, then as soon as you see them start trotting, you say, okay, I lost speed. That's the end of that. I'll put you away and I'll go for my own run. So sometimes we see these super athletic people do the sport and their dogs end up not liking the sport because they went too hard too quickly in too warm weather. So I'm guessing there's no questions about that. That's pretty easy. What are the temperatures in Wisconsin in the summer? Is it?
It can get pretty humid.
Oh,
Yeah.
humid. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, because you're below the Great Lakes, right? Yeah.
yeah. Humidity is the killer here for us. And I
Okay.
would also say mosquitoes during certain times of year.
Oh,
So
yeah.
those would be my two things that would stop me from wanting to do it. So one of my questions was going to be like, when it is too warm and you want to keep your dog in shape, what are perhaps different things that they could do to continue to stay in shape that would support this stuff that you'd want to do later when it was cooler? Would like swimming be an option, or do those use too many
Swimming is an
different
option.
muscles?
Oh no, swimming's great. One of my dogs doesn't like to swim, unfortunately, but they all do agility. They all do recreational agility. So I have access to a couple of agility fields, and we'll go do that.
Mm-hmm.
Agility is a little bit taxing because if the summers they're off season and they recover, agility is a little bit taxing. But we don't expect them to be in shape in October. So we there's just no expectation for them to be in shape in the summer.
Yeah.
The really competitive teams don't do much with their dogs June, July, August. That's just how it is. The dogs they play with each other and they free run a little bit around, and they're not really. They can't do the training. So, but I do recreational agility. I'm a little bit nervous about it. One of my dogs had a wrist injury, probably from that. But agility's good, swimming's good. Most of the sprint racing dogs like to play fetch, so you can play fetch in the water, that kind of thing. But yeah, there's no expectation for them to be in shape in October. That's why we do these 1 mile. You drive an hour so your dog can run 1 mile. Yeah.
It just makes me think of the hunting dogs. We have a lot of hunting dogs in Wisconsin. So,
okay.
Like springers or German short-haired pointers and things like that, who they get used to hunting season. Like 3 months out of the year, they'll go, and you'll see them all slim down. And then after hunting season's done, then it's almost like they don't have anything to do with themselves. So that's where I come in.
This would be
like, my dog's driving me crazy, and it's because it doesn't have a job to do.
Wow. This would be a great sport. So one of the people on my team, she has a Brittany Spaniel, and the Spaniel competes in hunt trials, but also hunts, I don't know if you call it professional, hunts in the real world.
Uh-huh.
And that dog's amazing harness dog. It's small, it's 40 pounds, but that's exactly what she says, though. She says he loses weight for those 3 months and then she has to do something with him. Mm-hmm. Most of the breeds that are really good at this sport are the hunting breeds. German short-haired pointers, spaniels. So any dog can do that. I have flyball friends with the little. Is flyball big in Wisconsin? I think it's big everywhere.
Probably. I'm not very into the dog sports worlds, so I don't know.
Okay. So just for those that don't know flyball, it has the big dogs, but each flyball team has a height dog. And height dog is the smallest dog because that's how the rest of the jumps are set. So these are like border collie Jack Russell mixes. And I have friends that do the sport with those little guys. They're fast. So, yeah, I mean, any breed, like I said, they just have to be able to run faster than you can run or ski faster than you can ski.
Gotcha.
All right, I'll switch back here.
Okay.
All right, so the equipment. Oh, wait, am I? Oh, now I'm sharing. Okay. So the equipment, it's pretty simple. You need a belt, and these belts, they're sort of like rock climbing belts. We call them panties, just because when they're on, they look like panties, and some people get them in pink and other colors. I like black. So that's the belt, and then you need a harness. The harnesses are sized to the dog, so this is called an X-back harness. The biggest thing with the harness to know is that if this part here, the yoke, I don't know if you can't see my pointer, I guess. The front of the harness, if that's too big, it will fall on their shoulders and cause some tendonitis. So it's almost as close fitting like a collar. And then the back of the harness usually stops right behind their tail. And the bottom strap, it's kind of runs along their last rib. If it's too short, it interferes with their breathing. If it's too long, it falls on their hips and again causes tendonitis. So it's worth finding a well-fitting harness if you do this sport. Not to worry if you do the mail order things and you get it wrong. It's really easy to sell harnesses and you can lend them out to your friends. I order harnesses a few at the time just because I like trying different stuff. So don't worry about ordering too many harnesses for fit. Somebody will use it. And then the line is a bungee line. The bungee absorbs the impact, and then the length of it is 9 feet. So there's a regulation on how long it can be. You can't have a 20-foot line so that you'll win the race ahead of the other dogs. Everybody has the same. Everybody has the same length line, and it's usually about 9 feet. I'm going to show you quickly what the harness looks like. So
Good. So it looks like it's nice and padded.
Yeah, there's padding. You can get different padding. The foam padding is good if your dogs swim. There's other more felt padding that takes 3 days to dry. Pretty simple. And then the line. So I have it set up for 2 dogs. So there's 2 clips to the harness, and then the end part clips to me. Hi, honey. My dogs came to say hi when I pulled out the harness.
Like, whoa, okay. You know what that means.
Yeah. Nothing fun is happening here. Okay. And then the panties, some people call them diapers as well. I'm not going to demonstrate. I'm not going to put them on to demonstrate, but the bottom part, wait, I'm in reverse.
Yep, there you go. A little bit further over. There you go.
Okay. This it grabs your butt cheeks and pulls you forward. There's some guys who like the belt sitting quite a bit higher because all the contraptions down low kind of interfere with them. But again, you buy a couple different styles and then you resell them. That's my advice on equipment is just buy everything and you can resell it. But in general, you're looking at $100 to $200 for the equipment to get started, which is pretty cheap in dog sport places. So. All right. And then are there any questions about equipment?
I'm assuming that all this stuff you have to order online. Like unless
yeah,
in like a doggy hub.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can go to races and people will fit you. Um, so from the US, so the brand in Canada, they'll ship to the US normally. That's the team in Wisconsin that, like I said, is the kind of top team in North America. They wear something called Nahawk, which is a Quebec, Canada-based brand. There's also Nonstop. That's kind of a Norway brand, but they ship everywhere. And then in the US, there's a couple places in Maine I know. Nook Sack Racing has them, although they don't have the belt I like. So yeah, you just like everything you order online, and it might not fit, but don't worry, someone will use the equipment. It won't be hard to sell. Were there any questions that came in there?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
And just for anybody if
Right.
anybody's
Yep.
watching the replay, feel free to ask questions even after this is done, and we'll make sure that to tag Robyn and that they get answered for you too. So we always have a lot of
Yep.
people watching the replays because not everybody's always available at
Oh.
once.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I will talk about this sport all day, so feel free. Do you have a quick release between the harness and the leash? Oh, good point.
Very
So
good point. That would be me.
no, because you don't want to let go of your dogs ever. It This is the reason why I say this good point. It used to be a long time ago. It used to be required. Uh, I don't know why. You had to have a quick release, and then all the single dog sport people, the husky owners said, "No way! I don't care how my dog gets singled with another dog. I am not hitting the quick release." And now they changed that rule. So no, there's no quick release, but it's just a carabiner. There's two ways to attach it. One is a carabiner, so that's kind of quick release, and the other one is just a buckle. So on my belt, trying on my belt is one. Oh, sorry. On my belt is one of these, and that attaches to the loop of my line.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a good question about the quick release. It used to be required, and like I said, until all the Huskies owners said nope, not doing it, and it's not required anymore.
Because they would keep going,
All right.
right?
Yeah, yeah. It has happened that dogs run the race without their owners because they get free. Usually they come back. All right.
Oh, wait, before you go,
I'm just gonna.
before you move
Yep.
on, I have a question. What about like dog
Yep.
booties or like that Musher Secret or something like that for their feet? Does that seem to be
Yeah, I
necessary?
didn't bring an example of any booties. So the booties. This is a really good point. The booties we use, they cost about $1. They're sort of like ripstop material. Or cloth material. They're with Velcro at the top. The dogs need to really feel their feet. So you can see I'm sure you've seen some of these pet dog booties that are, the rough wear has this $50 booty. The
Mm-hmm.
problem with that is the dogs can't feel I'm making a motion with my feet, but I can't get the camera. The dogs can't need to feel every single toe
Mm-hmm.
to get grip, to get balance, get things like that. You'd never send an agility dog through the course with a big booty on. That's the same with sled dogs. So the booties are super thin, and you replace them every a few times a season. They'll get holes in them. You replace them. The Velcro only lasts 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
I only booty when the snow is really tough or in dryland season. So if I'm biking down a gravel road, I'll booty. If the snow is really crusty, I'll booty. Some dogs need it. These Australian shepherds again. The snow gets caught in their fur,
Mm-hmm.
so they need booties, or else they would get snow on their toes, on their fur. Um, but yeah, the most dogs, unless it's a fur issue, don't need booties unless it's long distance or bad conditions. But it's a good point about the booties because people buy the $50 booties and then their dogs can't run. They can't feel their feet, and they get injured with there's no proprioception of feeling the ground.
Good to know.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I have one more slide here about how to start skiing. Let me just screen share. Oh, wait, did it? Okay. So skiing, this is one of the take-home messages from the presentation is you really need to learn to ski before you attach a dog to yourself. So you
Can
saw
you
in the video, they were going about 15 to 18 miles per hour, and these are average dogs. I guarantee you, your dog will do it if they're chasing another dog or if they're chasing a bunny. And if you were to fall over, your dog's going to get concerned really quickly about what's happening behind them. And it's one of the quickest ways to get a dog to stop running is, it's intuitive. The dog in the picture has to be facing forward to run. And if his neck were turned behind him because he was concerned about what his owner was doing, he's not going to go forward. And I've seen dogs that are just starting out and owners have been wobbling on skis a little bit, and it's taken a year to overcome it. One crash might take a year. So really learn to ski first. The kind of skiing we do is skate ski style. That's cross country, but pushing out to the side. You can do this with backcountry or classic skis. They just can't have metal edges because it's risky to the dogs. So if there's metal edges, don't use them. But backcountry skis work, classic skis work. I put together sort of a mini bio on when you might know that it's okay to attach a dog. And that's maybe you were on the downhill race team, in junior high. Maybe you were a hockey player and you had some balance. If you had that, then it would be 2 or 3 weekends of lessons to really get down enough to attach a dog. And by the way, this was my progression. So I had downhill skiing experience. I played hockey university. I took lessons for about a year, and it just happened that I got my dog right after that. But our local ski school had lessons, so I took lesson for about a year. In general, if you can solo ski for 2 miles with some climbing and some hills, then think about attaching a dog. So I'm going to just flick to the next slide because it talks a little bit about training to get up to skiing. So if you can say, okay, well, I would like to do these harness dog sports, but I wasn't on the junior high race team. My next slide kind of tells you what some of the progressions are.
Can you make
So just this last, yeah. Did you
Can
say
you
something?
make this in presentation mode? Right now
Oh,
it's small. They're hard to see.
sorry.
That's okay.
Got
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so normally what happens in terms of progressions to get to skiing is you start with running with your dog. And then we call this dry land season. So that's starting September, October. We're just running with our dogs. They are out in front. If they start trotting, we know we've gone too far. If they're not pulling hard, we know we need to provide motivation. And this is where you get to work on other things like the stand stay. It's nice if your dog has a stand stay before you try to add skis. And this is where you can work on leave it so they know not to go sniff and mark while they're running. They get to do all that stuff during breaks, but when they're in harness going forward and you want to teach a leave it command, it's nice if you're running and can help enforce the command. And this is also where you can start teaching directional commands. So you come up to a corner and you say the directional command, right, left. In Canada, we use G and Ha just because we have 2 different languages. So if people and we trade dogs all the time. So if it's just better to use G and Ha rather than French and English. So that's the right and left. So once you're confident with your dog doing this stuff when you're running, the next step is bike jor. So on a bike or a scooter. So there's some people that I don't know why they don't think it's safe for their dog to pull a bike. It's safer than you think, but there's also scooters. So that brings you probably until the snow starts coming, and then you would start skijoring. There are people that go right to skijoring because they're confident they can ski and they're not too worried about what their dog can do. But optimally, it would be running, biking, skiing. And then this slide shows some of the commands that if you wanted to train your dog, this is, if you wanted really good trail etiquette, this is what you would have. a stand stay to get ready. And this would be a stand stay. There's people around and other dogs around, but your dogs can hold the stand stay. Leave it. So this is how you pass teams. If there's a team coming, you say leave it so they don't interact, or this is how you prevent them from going over to the side and sniffing. Or, I mean, bunnies, you don't say leave it for bunnies because bunnies are actually helpful. They get you going forward. And if you're going fast enough, your dogs don't realize they've jumped into the woods and you'll get quite a bit of speed. So if you see a bunny, we say go, go, go. Leave it is for, if they get distracted by other things. Directional commands, right, left. Not really, it's not really essential. If your dog goes the wrong way, you just kind of turn them the other way. Accelerate and slow down are helpful as well. I'm just going to stop sharing here. Okay, so that is the end of the Skijoring teaser. And my goal today was mainly to get you excited about the sport and to say, okay, I would like to know more about that. And then I'm sure there's a group in Wisconsin that does canicross or Skijoring. But it's mainly to get you interested in the sport and say, hey, I would like to do that with my dog.
Awesome.
So I'm going to leave it there. I apologize that we're a little bit over. But if there's any questions, I can take them.
I do have another question from Claire.
Oh, in terms of equipment, Claire?
I think that's what she was asking. Like when you're doing the bike part of it.
Another good question. So the only difference, we saw the 9-foot line. The only difference is we call it an antenna that shoots out from the bike to keep the line off of the bike wheel. And you can buy them. So I don't have a picture, but you can think of just like a old TV antenna that shoots out over the bike. That holds the guide wire so it doesn't get caught in the wheel. And then you attach the line to the bike. And then everything else is the same. The equipment's the same. You don't need the panties. The line is attached to the bike. And then the harnesses are the same, and it's still a 9-foot line.
Gotcha. So, and then Claire here, she said how to. I think she was thinking, so like you had the progression for the Skijoring as to, start here, be able to ski by yourself for 2 miles with some uphill. What would you say about bicycling? Because many of us can already bicycle, but how far?
Okay, so same thing. You would, as best you can, you would really start running. You would start the canicross so that you know your dog, you know what their distractions are going to be. Biking is the same thing. They need the motivation to go forward. And what most people do is they get another dog and they put the other dog ahead of them, and then they wait. And once the dog is far enough away, they release the dog behind them. I mean, I've done it where someone was on a bike ahead, dragging a toy to get the dog going. The thing I'll say is I know it sounds like it might be dangerous to bike with your dog. It hasn't happened. Nothing bad has really happened. And I think it's because even if the dogs start off in one direction, you put the brakes on the bike and you glide into a stop, and the dog's momentum kind of helps you stay straight. I don't know what the other thing is. Like, if you're going fast enough, you're going too fast for them to really get distracted. And I mean, I wasn't a biker, so I'm not a mountain biker. I own a bike, but I've never had a bad experience on a bike. And I can't tell you why. But I wouldn't worry about it too much, as long as the worst thing that can happen is the line gets caught in the front wheel. So as long as you take care of that, provide the motivation for them to go straight, you could probably even take a treat bag, show it to the dog, run ahead half a mile, have someone run ahead half a mile and have the dog run to the treat bag. Mm-hmm. But I don't, my recommendation is not to worry too much about the dangers of biking. As long as your dog has done the sport running for a little while, going to the bike, I've done it with a lot of dogs and I haven't had any bad experiences.
I had a dog, Bosley, who loved doing the biking, and I had like a little one of the bars that came off the side, so and it was down low, so it was had a better sort of balance for if you did take me when we're the direction.
That's
But
yeah.
thinking back, it probably would have been better to start out with running with him, because he did start out a little wobbly, where he'd be like, "This is the best," and then he'd like look back at me every once in a while and be like, "Keep going, buddy." And I'd have to have my
Yeah.
feet kind of out to the side to be like ready to like brace just in case. But he got good at it.
Yeah, they just love to run. Some dogs are scared of the bike.
Hmm.
And if they're scared of the bike, they're going to be scared of the skis. So you might as well get them over their fear of the bike because that will help when you go to skis.
Hmm.
Um, I think most dogs just like to run, especially if you provide a little bit of motivation.
Uh-huh.
If you have two bikes going together and one's a little bit further, or you just have another family member run ahead, they're gonna go. I I don't know what to say. I would try it. I think it's going to be easier than you think. But pick a trail. So usually the trails, you don't want to run on pavement. You don't want to run on things that are too straight because that's boring for them. Um, but any hiking trail that's flat would be good for biking. Anytime I see elevation change, I don't go on that trail. So if I'm going to a new place to visit someone, I'm just scouting out trails. I
Hmm.
look at the elevation and I find places with no elevation.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'll say
Good.
is it's elevation can be risky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. What about some of the cues that they could start? So, like if I had a dog that I wanted to try this with, I'm not a winter person. So, but what if I wanted to start teaching like left and right? Like, or I don't know. I suppose I could start teaching a leave it now if my dog didn't have a leave it, or a stand stay. Those are all things that you could start
Yeah.
at, right?
Yeah, and the directional cues can be opportunistic. So you can do it while you're walking your dog. As long as you have a dog that walks ahead a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
um, you get up to the end of the block, you say right, or in sled dog talk, we say G, and then you go in that direction. And you kind of jolly them up when they get there. And
Mm-hmm.
then I mean, right now, my dogs, I can weave them in and out of parked cars just with directional commands. So I train it opportunistically, and they learn pretty quick on the trail. They don't have a lot of complication in their life, right? They're not. If this isn't obedience, there's not tons of cues. So if you're really quiet on the trail and you don't say anything, and all of a sudden they hear this G, they know it means something, and it's not too many repetitions for them to associate it with a turn,
Mm-hmm.
just because we don't ask very much of them. So when we do say something, it's memorable, and it's
Yeah, I like that.
there's not that many directions. There's straight, there's right and left. It's um, I mean, I don't want to discount myself as a dog trainer or anything. I can teach my dogs complicated things. I can tell
Right.
clients how to teach their dog something. But so you come up to a corner, you say G, and then you go right, and then good girl. Okay, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. So that'd
Yeah.
be an easy one that somebody could start tomorrow without buying any equipment or anything. Just you're going to take your dog out for a walk, start practice teaching them how to turn left and right on a verbal cue. So, yeah.
Yeah. And slow down. I mean, they probably already do slow down. If their dog is
Hmm.
going shooting out ahead of them, they probably go, whoa, too
Right.
fast. And
Yep.
this, so, and I'm sure everybody's started on a leave it, which is one of the most important commands. I'll just tell a really quick story on how important leave it is. My dog's first race. So what they do is they pull names out of the hat for the race order, and unfortunately, we got drawn first, so we didn't have a dog to chase. So someone was holding my dog because she also didn't have a stand stay, and they said go, and they released her, and she went in the other direction to visit other dogs, which was a problem. The dogs behind us, they were waiting, and then so someone pointed her in the right direction. She went, and then there was a hay bale, right, and she started sniffing the hay bale, and I got her going again, and then there was a race photographer, and she tried to eat the fuzzy, the fuzzy microphone thing that they have. She tried to eat that. I have video of this. It was in the GoPro days. And then, so leave it is really, really helpful.
Right. Oh, that's funny. That should be your blooper outtakes.
Yeah, the next day we got to chase a dog, and it was all good. I
Yeah.
have video of that race, but yeah. So leave it. If I had to pick one thing, I mean, because sometimes there's head-on passing, and leave it is so important.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's one of those skills that I teach to almost all my clients, along with emergency coming with calls. Those are my
Yeah,
two skills that if I had to pick three, those are my top two for sure.
yeah, yeah. Recalls are good. I mean, most people don't let their dogs off leash ever. Uh, I do mine free run, so that means while I'm doing the sport, my other dogs are running free, so
Mhm.
they need a recall. But the husky owners, they don't bother with the recall, but leave it is really hard for the social huskies. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, oh, Claire says amazing info. I want to try it all. Great.
Mm.
Well, this has been a lot of
Send
fun, and I
pictures.
really appreciate you taking the time to explain this to us and go through it and all the different little steps. I'm sure that as people are watching the replay, that we're going to get more questions about it, and I hope there are because I know I'm probably going to think about some. And even if you have any I don't know if you have a YouTube channel or videos that you share with you doing any dog training at all, or but
I share most of my videos on my Facebook page, and
mhm.
it's the page isn't public, but I don't mind if people add me as a friend. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a private person. If I have something private, it doesn't go on my Facebook page. My Facebook page is pictures of me ski joring or videos I make of me not being able to hold my dogs in a stand stay. So yeah, I never got into YouTube too much, but
Mhm.
yeah, if people want to add me on Facebook, there's videos of us doing fun things.
Cool, cool. And maybe Ed and I will, for our downtime, even though we will never progress to any of these sports, we'll focus on teaching him left and right. And we can do that out on
Yeah,
walks when it gets warmer out again.
yeah, yeah, just another skill.
Exactly, just
Every
another
other,
skill. He
just keep
loves
adding
learning new
them. Yeah,
things.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, and thank you to everybody that joined us. All right. Have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Okay, guys. And I was muted. Okay, so next week it is going to be part 2 of the separation anxiety series. So we're going to be going over what sort of things people have done for videos, what they found out about their dogs, what they need to do next, and little things we can help to make sure that your dogs aren't developing any alone time issues when we're starting to go back to work. And then after that, our next guest, I believe, is Dr. Mindy Waite, who's going to be talking with us about how words matter when we're describing our dog's actions and behaviors. So keep an eye on our events page. We're continuing to add new guests, which we're really excited and honored that they're taking the time to join with us. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your Monday. Bye for now.